With me now is Megyn Kelly, journalist and host of The Megyn Kelly Show on YouTube at Megyn Kelly and wherever you get your podcasts. Megyn, you are one of my biggest role models. Every journalist I know admires you, looks up to you, and tries to be more like you, whether they admit it or not. Thank you so much for joining me and being the first interview on The Batya Show.
Oh, I'm so honored. Congratulations. I love the people at NewsNation. It's no surprise to me that they saw your genius and gave you this very well-deserved show. There's no limit to how far you can take this, Batya. Good luck.
Thank you so much, and thank you for being with me at this very difficult time. I actually learned that Charlie had died from you. I was standing in my home office. I was praying, and I had you on my screen, and I was begging God to save his life, and then I heard this.
There are news outlets reporting the worst right now, Glenn. I don't know what I'm waiting for. They're reporting that Charlie has died. That he's dead at the age of 31. Which he would have to be if that video was real.
There's no way he survived that.
Megyn, I and the millions of Americans watching you in that moment could feel your pain coming through the screen.
It was awful. It was awful for all of us. And I was so glad Glenn was with me. I mean, we've been friends for a long time, but I don't know. I needed to go through it with somebody too. I don't think I could have done that without him on the set. You know, you just need someone to be with you in a moment like that. And I hadn't even totally appreciated what it would do for the audience, because I knew that I had to go live when the news that he had been shot broke. I knew I had to get out there. I did know that people were going to want to hear the latest from us and not from anyone else, not from Fox, certainly not from CNN or MSNBC. But I definitely was not thinking that Charlie died, you know, or that he was going to die. Just, you know, it's like I still have not gotten my arms around the fact that he died. And so as the news broke and it became just like undeniable, you know, I guess I was grateful to be on the air so that I could handle it with my own audience in our relationship of trust. And then we just received thousands and thousands of emails saying the same, that if they had to hear that, they were glad they weren't listening to it on MSNBC, you know. And so in that way, Charlie kind of helped independent media even in his dying moment, like reinforced that the platform he built, this other lane he helped build, mattered and helped his audience understand his darkest day.
You knew Charlie for a long time, since he was a kid, really, an 18-year-old kid. What would you say is the most misunderstood aspect of Charlie Kirk?
That he was hateful, the thing that drove his shooter to kill him. He was the opposite of hateful. He was totally joyful. He was a happy warrior from the beginning. That's what made him different. I am a cynical news mofo, you know. I would not refer to myself as a happy warrior exactly. I'm a happy person, but I've got a newswoman's sense of judgment about the news, which is rather cynical. And he was the opposite. He was like talking to these people like, you can be saved and Jesus loves you, and with enough work, you can change your life. You know, I'm like, these people are terrible. We need to move on without them, you know? And that's, honestly, that's what made him so powerful. That's what made people on the left and the right gravitate toward him, because every message was infused really, truly with the Holy Spirit. You could feel it. There was like, I believe the videos where people are saying, I think the reason I feel so connected to him and so sad that he's gone, even though I didn't know him, and some people weren't even fans of his, is because I feel like a kindred spirit, like a kindred Holy Spirit has died. You know, I'm Catholic and I felt it in him, or I'm Jewish and I felt his religious nature, his faith in, you know, God. So I think that's what I experienced when I was in his presence, when I was around him, and when I interviewed him. No matter how dark I would try to take it, Batya, so he'd find some way to put a silver lining on that cloud.
That That rings so true to me as a Jewish person. I had the exact same experience of him. I find myself right now in this moment caught between, on the one hand, wanting to honor his legacy of treating even these people on college campuses who have, you know, the worst views like children of God and wanting to unify. And then on the other hand, wanting to speak the truth. And the truth is, I personally have found myself very offended by the way that the Democratic conversation around this has developed, particularly the both sidesing of political violence in the last 2 weeks. How have you experienced that?
Oh, I mean, it's a lie. It's a blatant lie. They went from he's a right-wing MAGA guy to, okay, well, you know, he wasn't actually a trans person. And then when the mother came out and said, no, I'm telling you it was left-wing ideology, and he'd become very pro-gay and pro-trans, and in that context hated Charlie and was saying he's coming to an event soon. It's a stupid place for him to go as he was loading up his bullets. They switched to, what does it matter? What does the motive matter? Which is an absurd place to land. Of course it matters, because we're in the mood to prevent another. It's in all of our best interest to actually figure out what drove him and see if there's anything that can be done to prevent the future, the next Tyler Robinson, from taking someone out. Maybe they don't need to worry about it, Batya, because it's only our people who are getting killed. It's only our people who are getting shot at. You know, it's like, oh, I guess it must be really easy to be one of these left-wingers with a podcast or a cable news host, because they don't have to worry about it. It's their people. These latest polls that just hit, there's a YouGov and one other that show, the other one shows 55% of Democrats think political violence is sometimes okay. The YouGov one shows 34%. But when you look on the GOP side, how many think political violence is ever okay? It's down to 7%. This is a left-wing problem. And I don't even need a poll to show me. I can see Charlie in a casket. That tells me everything I need to know.
So Charlie was beautifully eulogized in my synagogue, as he was in synagogues across the country. Like you, Megyn, Charlie hated anti-Semitism. And like you, he was a bulwark against misinformation about Israel and dark conspiracies about Jewish power and what have you. But since his assassination, some on the right have used this moment to blame Israel, talk about Jewish donors, criticize Netanyahu. I'm also seeing a lot of pushback from the right against this at a time that should be a moment of unity and unification, and this kind of spiritual revival we're seeing across the country. Where do you stand on all of this?
Well, leave it to the right to ruin any unifying moment. That's really not their thing. They're fine with infighting. It's kind of what builds them. But there has been some coalition building. I mean, for example, Tucker and Ben talked. That's like a first for a couple of years, so that's good. Those two, I feel like both of those guys are a brother to me, you know, so I hate when they fight. It's like my brothers are fighting. I feel like the sister in the middle. I think criticism of Netanyahu is okay because he put out a statement that some feel was inappropriate, and I get that, you know, so that's different. But, and if you want to talk about the relationship that Charlie had with Israel, okay, that's fine. I mean, I talked about it on my show only because Candace Owens started bringing it up on her show, and then there was this big question about what happened at this Bill Ackman meeting. And I happened to interview Charlie at length on this subject the day after the Bill Ackman meeting. I mean, I had no idea that there was a meeting. I didn't know any of this. I just brought it up with him. And so we had a half-an-hour chat about where we both stood on Israel on August 6th. And he was really grateful that I brought it up, and we had like the best talk on it. And so I felt like I had the ability to set the record straight on where Charlie was on that issue in a way nobody else did, which is why I brought it up. But I agree. This isn't the time. This wasn't something I injected into the Charlie conversation. This is other people who are doing it. I brought it up on my show because I do have something to say. I have him on the record on this. And you could hear his full-throated defense of Israel and his love for Israel in that talk. And just, we were both in the same place. And I also feel as he does, and have been very defensive, especially of American Jews who have been getting harassed and bullied off of campuses, and the hostage pictures being torn down. But both of us, after a couple of years, have found areas of criticism, minor, but areas of criticism of Israel, and don't want to be called terrible names because we expressed them. That's kind of where we both were.
I remember watching that when it came out and feeling very frustrated that anybody would cast aspersions on you and Charlie, who are, you know, the biggest defenders of Jews on the right. But then you see someone like Candace Owens, who has spent all of the time since Charlie passed blaming Jews and Jewish people and Jewish money and Jewish power instead of the left-wing culture that produced the assassin. And I wonder to myself, Megyn, what is your message to Jewish Americans, many of whom fled the left because of this incessant demonization of Israel, who are now sort of seeing things like that cropping up on the right?
Well, I think overwhelmingly, the Republican Party still supports Israel. They do. Israel's lost the Dems, like all of them, and they've lost independence. But they still have the Republican Party. The latest poll showed the support among Republicans for Israel went from 76 to 71. So it's down a little, and it's not trending well, which is one of the reasons why I really wish they would wrap it up. And I know it's complicated. Trust me, I get it. I just don't want to see their Republican support evaporate down to the point where they've lost America as an ally. But I still think Republicans and the Republican Party are the friendliest, most welcoming place for American Jews and for Israel. And I really wish American Jews would vote that way. I really do. I mean, having lived 17 years on the Upper West Side of Manhattan, most of my Jewish friends did not vote that way. What are you doing? Come on, come on in, the water's fine. And I hope they remember that this time around. I'll just say one word in defense of Candace, okay? I'm gonna say one, and I realize I totally understand what you're saying. But I think she's genuinely hurting. And I think like everybody should be given like a little dollop of grace this week because she was very good friends with Charlie. And she's not wrong that she helped build Turning Point. And I just think everybody's spiraling a little right now. So, you know, for what it's worth.
Yeah, I hear that, and I believe in grace, trust me, although with her, it's sort of a pattern that's been going on for a few years. For another time, Pam Bondi came under fire for suggesting that the government would start prosecuting hate speech. Let's take a look at that.
There's free speech, and then there's hate speech. And there is no place, especially now, especially after what happened to Charlie, in our society. We will absolutely target you, go after you, if you are targeting anyone with hate speech, anything. And that's across the aisle.
Now, she did walk this back. It's over. It's over. It's over. She walked it back today, Megyn, but I got to tell you, I think she was watching the Megyn Kelly show yesterday because you really gave her a piece of your mind. I mean, it's so funny to me because the Democrats and the left thought that they had got you. You know what I mean? They were out there saying, look at this Republican hypocrisy on free speech. And then you really let her have it. So tell us a little bit about what you said about this.
I mean, it wasn't just me. Most voices on the right were like, what? What? No. Who is this? Who talks like this? A leftist talks like this. Our side for years has been saying to people, no, hate speech is constitutional. Hate speech is free speech and First Amendment protected speech. And it's certainly not okay for the government to crack down on it. The very speech that is protected by the First Amendment is hate speech. Delightful speech that you love hearing requires no protection whatsoever. It's there to protect unpopular speech. And look, I was dear friends with Charlie. The last thing I want to hear is the horrible messages about him. The things celebrating his assassination, the things lying about what a racist he was, what have you. I don't want to hear those, but I'm sorry they have the right to say it. Now, it doesn't mean that you have the right to stay in the job. Like as an employer, I can employ somebody who's all really super pro political assassination. You can get fired. You can have consequences in your social life, but your government cannot arrest you. Your government cannot harass you. That's squarely in the middle of First Amendment behavior. And what she said there was total inanity. And I really don't know how to explain it.
Well, I'm very glad to see that she walked it back. After the killer was charged, you wrote on Twitter, I listened to the presser and feel empty inside. The motive was as suspected, so now what? Now Erica knows exactly why they stole her husband, her kid's father, why Charlie will never get to walk their daughter down the aisle and never have a catch with his son. The shooter will likely die by firing squad one day and should. It won't bring Charlie back. Megyn, what does justice for Charlie Kirk look like?
It can't be found in a courtroom. Something will happen there, as I predicted in the tweet, but it can only be found in the religious revival that people are feeling right now, the 54,000 applications for new Turning Point chapters that they say they've gotten from college and high school students alike. People like the guy in the suit saying his wife got him the suit and he's going to wear it and he's going to go to church and treat his wife well. People like the young woman with like the big liberal glasses and the weird hair who looks like a leftist to me saying, I didn't know Charlie, but the first time I took out a Bible and started reading it and I went to church this Sunday. You know, that's his legacy. If he exponentially increases, especially young people's relationship with God and their faith, he will consider his a life well lived. He, his beautiful widow, Erica, will feel the power of his mark that he left while here. That would be the most important. He said it himself. He wishes to be remembered for courage to my faith. That's what he said. And so, you know, I look around, Batya, and I have to say this. What did we see, like, in this country? We used to be a more faithful country. We were openly faithful, and we would go to church and synagogue and so on the weekends. And then slowly but surely that was eroded and actively erased by leftists. We had lawsuits, we had challenges, we were just told it was wrong, somehow it was bigoted. It got taken down, even though that's how the country was founded, on these Judeo-Christian ideals. And it slowly but surely it was erased, and what were we left with? Utter banality. And you had leftists turn, instead of back to religion, to their own invented religion, which is wokeism, the woke mind virus, which was empty, vacuous, and actually even more dangerous than that. It was just pernicious. It was like a cancer that they were injecting into their veins, and they found out the hard way that it's fatal, you know, that it's fatal to their own hopes in life, their own well-being, their own mental health, and it turned out to be fatal for our side too, for different reasons. And so what if in response to all that, the man who gave his life for this cause winds up steering some portion of that same group, young leftists, back to what we believe, which is the importance of faith in your life, the importance of family, the importance of uplifting messaging, and possibly reaching out to the other side. What if that's what this does? That, if it happens, and it's going to take some years to know really whether it's happened, will be the closest thing we're going to get to justice.
So on that topic of reaching across the aisle, final question for you, Megyn. What are you listening for? What could you hear from the Democrats that would make you feel that this country could achieve unity even at this moment of polarization?
Self-policing. They have to rein in their own. You know, their lunatics do not listen to me. They didn't listen to Charlie on these fronts, and they don't listen to the right. So it has to be all the lovely leftists who have reached out to me in the past week after Charlie died, who say, I'm so sorry, you know, I'm going to be thinking about my own political messaging from now on. You know, this is wrong, this isn't us, this isn't America. It's fine to say it to me privately, and I do appreciate it. But it needs to be said to their own side openly, loudly, through a microphone when the things are being said. Like, they're the only ones who can police their side and get us back to decency as the default. You know, I can't do it. So I don't have high hopes for it, I'm going to be honest, but I'll wait.
Megyn, God bless you and protect you. Thank you so much for joining us.
You too, Batya. Good luck with everything. I know you won't need it, but I will be praying for you and watching, and I'll come back anytime.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.